Hey guys, today we are going to read A Giraffe Goes to Paris by Mary Tanvir, Holmes and John Harris, illustrated by John Cannell. And it's based on a true story, so be excited to watch till the end. Shh! Look, the moon over Paris. And there, in the moonlight, what is that? A giraffe, my giraffe. Belle. The French people called her the Belle Enfant des Tropiques, the beautiful child from the tropics, which she was and is. She was present from the great Pasha of Egypt, Muhammad Ali, to the King of France, Charles X. No one in France has ever seen a giraffe. No one. So she was the perfect present. Me, a deer. I was chosen to take care of Belle on her long journey from Egypt. My name, I should tell you, is Adir. First, we went on a boat trip on the ancient river Nile. Belle and I, men from a pasha's court, and what you may ask, does a giraffe eat while floating down a river? Nile? Giraffes, after all, nibble on treetops, but where would Belle find treetops in the middle of a mighty river? And what would she eat on an even longer trip to France? We thought and decided that she should drink milk. Milk was the best idea, but a young giraffe, Belle was only 2, drinks a lot of milk, which is why we brought 3 cows with us, and to keep Belle company, 2 antelopes. Once we got Belle on board the ship, we saw right away there was another problem. A big problem. Belle wasn't gonna fit. It was too dangerous to keep her above it on the deck. She was too tall to sail in the cramped quarters below. It was that our Italian captain came up with a brilliant idea. He cut a hole in the deck so Belle's long, graceful neck could poke out. He lined the hole with a straw to protect her from the rough, splintery edges. He provided an umbrella to protect her from the sun and rain. When Belle walked calmly down the gangplank, the people of Marseille could not believe their eyes. Never in their lives had they seen such a creature. She was 12 feet tall, and what was she exactly? They could not decide. Was she some kind of camel? She had spots like a leopard's. She had a long tongue, almost like a snake's, and she walked so strangely. First her 2 right legs, then her 2 left legs. So she was not a horse. What was she? Everyone had a different idea. Fancy parties. Belle and I stayed in a private home of a rich lady, a countess, who threw lavish parties in Belle's honor. The parties were fun. But remember, we had to get to Paris, to the king, who was awaiting Belle's arrival 500 miles away. How? We were all tired of boat trips. Belle was 2, and no cart was big enough to hold her. Belle seemed to be enjoying her strolls to the city of Marseille. Why not walk to Paris? And so that's what we did. But we would need some help. Someone to lead such a complicated operation. Who? We thought and thought until a rich lady said, Geoffrey St. Hilaire. He's a great professor at the Museum of the Natural History in Paris. He's a friend of mine, and he could do it. Professor St. Hilaire took the charge immediately and devised a plan over a period of 8 weeks. We would walk with Belle in the entire way from Marseille to Paris. Belle where? But Belle, like any traveler setting out on a long journey, would need to have right clothes. She had arrived in France without so much as a raincoat, and a raincoat, in fact, was preciously what she needed to protect her from the rain, the sun, and the wind. France is not Egypt, and we did not want her catching a cold in her long, long throat. We came up with a waterproof outfit and a blanket that buttoned around her body, embroidered on one side with the coat of arms of France, and on the other coat of the Pasha of Egypt. It was edged in a heavy black braid. She wore it as a cape around her neck, and this looked very good on her. And I am serious, boots. Yes, boots. She was not used to walk in such long distances. We set out French gendarmes in front of the cows. Remember them? One of two Egyptians in a full dress, then a professor walking alone, Belle in her finery, with me in the front holding an umbrella over her head, horses drawing a wagon loaded with supplies, the antelopes. Remember the antelopes? And some sheep. Crowd lines on the road. People were hanging from the trees to be closer to her when she nibbled on the leaves. I'm not sure what they were expecting. A wild beast? A ferocious creature? Instead, they saw Belle, my Belle, gentle and elegant, the best dressed animal in the world, and she didn't make a sound. We stopped at inns that put out special signs, a bouquet et la Giraffe. Church bells rang as we made our way through the air that smelled of lavender and lilac roses. The fields were thick with olive groves, poppies, and grapevines. The newspapers announced we were coming, and people streamed out to see us. We made our way through the cities and with magical names. Aix-en-Provence, the town of thousand fountains, Avignon, the ancient city where we were popes once lived. Then onward through Orange and Valencia. So many towns saw Belle. On June 6, 1827, we arrived in Lyons. Belle walked gracefully under the city gate and into the beautiful place Belcourt, where 30,000 people came to see her in a single day. Oh, it was grand. But Paris was always our destination. Paris and the king. Paris loves Belle. Paris began to prepare for Belle's arrival. Paris began to go crazy. There were giraffe songs, poems, paintings, pottery, fabrics, cough drop boxes, wallpaper, toys, inkwells, jewelry, and gingerbread cookies. There was a giraffe piano with strings going straight up the neck, and a giraffe hairdo with a wire inside of the hairdo. It was so tall that a wealthy lady wearing it would have to sit on the floor, carriage to fit inside. On July 9, 1827, the great moment had finally arrived. Belle met the king and ate rose petals out of his hand. The king's children petted her beautiful spotted leg. The Grand Duchess de Berry hung a garland of flowers around Belle's neck. And as for me, the king gave me at clear 1,000 francs. Paris. And so began our 18 years in Paris. In the first 6 months, more than 600,000 Parisians came to see us, paid to see us. Dressed in my best white turban, my fancy vest, and my white Egyptian pants. I would take Belle out on a leisurely 2-hour walk through the lovely Jardin des Plantes, where the Parisians had made a home for us in Rotinda. And the people who would watch us is not believing their eyes at her. Shh, Belle is getting sleepy, and I am too. But before we both drift off, let's take one last look together at the moon. Bonne nuit, ma chère Belle.